You'll notice today our program is slight change in format, and it really is to so that our speaker can leave for the airport shortly after lunch. So in terms of time, I know we're really short on time, so I'm going to get started, and thank you all for being here. And really, on behalf of Asia Society Hong Kong Center, I really want to send a hearty welcome to Ms. Helle Thorning-Schmidt, CEO of Save the Children International and former Prime Minister of Denmark. Welcome, and all our friends from Save the Children, as well as many of the students who are here with us, and from all the universities here in Hong Kong. And recognizing the two Consul Generals at the head table, Consul General of Malaysia and Consul General of Iran. Welcome. And really, today's topic, realizing a sustainable future, a public-private partnership. We are delighted. Ms. Thorning-Schmidt is here with us in Hong Kong. This is, I believe, her first trip as the CEO of Save the Children International, and I think we already know her CV. She was former Prime Minister, a public servant in Denmark, and also EU. So it's really delight that in her new capacity as CEO of Save the Children, that we can have her here to talk about a topic that is of great interest to us here in Hong Kong. I know Hong Kong is a very charitable place, and those of us, Asia Society Hong Kong is definitely a beneficiary from this public-private partnership, and I know she's going to give us more what she's doing, what Save the Children is going to be doing here in Hong Kong and also globally. So on that note, I'm going to welcome her. I think she is the CEO of Save the Children International, which has over 25,000 staff and an annual budget of over $2 billion. And she oversees humanitarian development works that directly reaches 55 million children in 120 countries. She was a member of parliament and leader of the Social Democrat Party. And it's always great to see a female political leader who is done well and continue to do well. And I know we're all disappointed, some of us more so than others, but I think really we want to salute Ms. Thorning-Schmidt for her leadership politically. And I know we will see a lot of changes. I think those ladies in the audience, young women, I think the future will look quite bright despite what happened last week in the United States. So on that note, I want to welcome Prime Minister Thorning-Schmidt to here, come up to give us a presentation. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. It's just great to be here. I thank you very much for coming, all of you, and of course the students that are with us here today. I hope you participate, ask questions. It's great to have some young people with us today. And I often think when we gather like we are doing here, being interested in hearing each other's stories, debating with each other, there's of course 100 other places that you could be on a Monday morning like this. Everyone got stuff to do. But the fact that you chose here to be right here today to discuss the future of the world, discuss the sustainable development goals, discuss how we can partner up to do more, already sets out a commitment which I'm very encouraged by. And I think most of us these days are asking ourselves, what can I do? How can I be a part of changing the world? And I think the answer is that we can do something. It is hard, and we can only do it together. So that's my main message to you today. And there's no doubt that the world needs us, and the children of the world needs us. Where do we start? I think the world has made a good start for us because a little more than a year ago, the global community came together in the UN and we actually agreed on the Sustainable Development Goals. How many of you have thought about the Sustainable Development Goals lately? Oh, so that's quite a lot. That's quite a lot of some of the young people as well. Great, good to hear. Because I'm a little bit worried that they are going to be forgotten if we don't talk about them, if we don't give life to these goals, and of course if we don't work on keeping those goals. Because what we agreed and what we pledged to the poorest people of this world was that we would deliver these 17 goals. We promised that we would end poverty in all its forms, everywhere. We promised to ensure inclusive and quality education for everyone. And we promised to achieve gender equality and empower all women and girls. And also to take urgent action against climate change. That's just some of the goals. And I must say I'm quite excited by that. It's amazing that in a world where everyone seems to be fighting and not getting along, we actually managed to actually agree on the goals. We came together as a community and we said yes to something of this magnitude. But what is even more amazing is to think of how these goals could actually change the world. Is it hard to reach these goals? It certainly is. I went to the UN General Assembly in September, and my message to everyone I spoke to was basically that we are not on track with any of these 17 goals yet. And that's just 1 year in. So we have 14 years yet to work on this. So it is hard to reach these goals. But the amazing thing is that it is not impossible. And if we do reach these goals, we could actually create a world where we end poverty, achieve true equality between men and women, and where we stabilize our climate change. So, Save the Children, which is an amazing organization. You just heard we work in 120 countries. We reach millions of children every day. Save the Children, who is an organization that's worked for 100 years, almost 100 years, we are standing up and saying that we will do our part. We want to be part of creating a world, and for us it's very, very simple. We have 3 goals. We want to be part of creating a world where no child dies of a disease that we could have been prevented. No child before the age of 5 should die of a disease we could have prevented. We want to be a part of a world where every child gets access to quality education, and we want all children to live a life where they are protected from violence. And we will insist on reaching the hardest to reach children first, the most deprived children. And that's a new thing of these goals, that we have to understand as a global community that the most deprived children, they're not only poor. No, they're actually discriminated against, and that's a very toxic cocktail for them. They're discriminated against because they belong to a certain race or ethnic minority, a certain religion, because they are street children and actually doesn't exist, because they are disabled, because they live in a place where there's war and conflict and they are refugees, or simply because they are girls. So the children that are the most deprived these days, they're not only poor, they experience a toxic cocktail of being poor and actually discriminated against. And these children are the ones that are desperately in need of the kind of change that the goals are envisaging. And there certainly is enough to do, particularly here in Asia. I don't want to depress you on this fantastic morning, but I want to give you the figures anyway. 167 million of the most deprived children in the world live in Asia. 300 children die every hour, mostly from causes that could have been prevented. Almost all of these children live, of course, in the most deprived areas. These are the children that live in the slums of Manila. These are the desperate Rohingya children, minority children, which are crowded in camps in Myanmar. We also know that 142 million children in Asia do not complete secondary school. Who are these? These are the 200,000 migrant children in Thailand who are not in school. And of course, almost all girls from the ethnic minorities in Laos. We also know that 45% of girls in South Asia experience child marriage. And for girls living in Papua New Guinea, for example, which is actually one of the most dangerous places for a girl to grow up, 70% will experience assault or rape in their lifetime. 70%. These are the critical challenges that we are facing. Not just government leaders, not just international NGOs, not just individuals, and not just business leaders. All of us are facing these issues. And that's why I'm also happy that one of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals is actually mentioning partnerships and business partnerships as something that we should strive to achieve. Because there's no way around it. There's no government that can solve these issues on their own. There's no development program that can solve it on their own. There's no individual, there's no INGO, there's no business. The magic only begins when we are working together. And that's what we need to do. And it is Save the Children. We pride ourselves that we are actually world champions of partnerships and also working with corporate partners. It is through these partnerships that we are able to make a real difference. Let me just give you some examples. Last year alone, Save the Children reached directly 29 million children living in extreme poverty. We reached them with life-saving health intervention, education, and child protection just here in Asia. And so far in 2016, we have launched no fewer than 34 humanitarian responses helping 500,000 children affected by disasters. But as I said, even this is not enough. We can't succeed alone. And that's why we have made a conscious decision to reach out to governments, to individuals, but also to corporate partners. Because we believe that is where the real difference comes. But as I often say to corporate partners, it is not just the money we're after. We want to have a partnership with corporate partners because they bring energy, they bring new expertise, they bring innovation, and they bring the enthusiasm from the private sector. And the most dynamic partnerships we have is actually with the corporate sector. We have also seen that these partnerships can take many different forms. And I'll give you a few examples of what we actually do with corporate partners, because people often come up to me and say, what are you actually doing? So just to give you a few examples. We have a very highly and innovative partnership with GSK. What we have with GlaxoSmithKline is access to their global health supply of medicine and vaccinations. And with that partnership, we have reached 1.3 million children with life-saving health interventions. And through the insight and guidance from Save the Children, GSK has actually successfully innovated some of their products. They are, for example, taking and reformulated a mouthwash products into becoming something where we can prevent diseases in newborn babies. It's quite amazing. We're also working in close partnerships with Unilever in the Philippines. And what we're doing there is that together we have developed and delivered a pilot training program for small and medium-sized enterprise, their leaders, so that they can better prepare for disasters. What does that do? Yeah, not only does it actually help children in communities that are disaster prone, it also helps Unilever protect their own supply chain. So that's a good example of where their interest and meets children's interest in a very perfect combination. With Johnson & Johnson, that's a different kind of partnership. It's a very old partnership where for 20 years, we have helped some of the most vulnerable mothers of this world. We have worked together. We are training birth attendants to address newborn asphyxia, which is basically the ability of newborn babies to breathe. We have saved many, many children with that partnership. Then we have a different kind of partnership with the Boston Consulting Group, which is basically we invite the Boston Consulting Group to second their employees to our organization. They bring us their skills and expertise. And at the same time, perhaps we could provide a unique opportunity for them, for the BCG, to retain their staff and show that BCG is a company that cares. A different partnership is the one we have with Bulgari, which is an amazing partnership. People are always surprised when I say that we work with a luxury brand as Bulgari, but we do. Since 2009, again, a long-standing partnership, we are providing education in emergencies to many, many children. I visited the Satari camp in Jordan some time ago, and you're a little bit surprised when you see the Bulgari sign there, but nevertheless you do, because this is where we are reaching out and helping children in education in a very, very tangible way. And as you know, I'm Danish. I worked in Danish politics for many years, so I can't stand here without mentioning Lego. With Lego, we have built up a system where we teach children in disaster-prone areas. We educate them with Lego about risks and hazards and what they should do if there is a disaster. So this is what we mean by partnerships. These are the fruitful partnerships where we can, together with our partners, take helping children to a new level. And this is what we basically believe. When you look at the world today, sometimes you can get awfully depressed. We see unprecedented numbers of children on the move and people on the move in general. We see wars and conflict that don't seem to have any ending and just go on and on. And it is easy to lose hope. And sometimes the ones of us who keep that hope are called naive, because is it really possible to change the world? I believe that it is. Look at this region. Look at the Asia region, where over 50 years we are seeing countries that have left war and conflict and developed into some of this world's most prosperous nations. Look at children in general. We have never had a world where children are healthier, wealthier, or better educated than the ones we see right now. What does that show us? That shows us that change is possible. And that is why we need to keep hope that by changing children's lives, we can change the future as well. And I invite you all, young and old, corporate partners, individuals, to be part of that change. Because the magic happens when people come together and say to themselves, we can make that change happen. This is what we believe in Save the Children. I'm delighted to be here to discuss that with you, and I hope some of you will feel that all hope is not lost, that we can still reach out and change children's lives and thus change the future. Thank you very much. Are there questions, or should I stay here, or should I go down? Questions. Yeah. Someone has to ask questions. Students. Yeah, students. Yeah. Yes.
Hello, thank you very much for your speech. I actually work for an NGO here with incredibly vulnerable children. So I wholeheartedly agree. And I was actually wondering more about how partnerships should work and how what you think about who should be the driving force. So I think, what you said, especially about working with corporates, is the same as we've seen. They have been the most dynamic partnerships. But if you think, in the space, you have corporates, you have governments, you have, civil society organizations, and then large international NGOs, who should drive those partnerships, and because for us, certainly as a small organization, it's quite difficult to be of course, we're always saying we want money, we'd like to do partnerships. So I'd just like to know.
Well, thanks a lot for that question. And the answer is, of course, all of us. I really strongly believe that no one can do anything on their own. I mean, as Prime Minister, I ran a coalition government. I had to work with 2 other parties, and I have to work with all the other parties in Parliament, because even when, as a coalition, we didn't have the majority. So I believe that people have to come together and make change together. That is partnership, and that is what we need to be doing. And that's why I underline that no one can do this alone. Of course, governments are ultimately responsible for their own people and their own nation, but governments will not be able to do this alone. They will have to cooperate with other entities. And that's why I see the corporate partnerships with NGOs are very, very powerful. And also partnership between international NGOs like my own and local partners. There's very little of what we do that we could actually deliver without local partners. Look at the work that Save the Children has been doing in Syria for some years. We can't work in Syria. The only reason why we have been able to work in Aleppo, which we have done, it's very, very hard to work in Aleppo, and it's very dangerous as well. But the only reason why we have been able to do that is because we work with local partners. And that is probably the case in many, many areas of the world, that we need to work with local partners. So I really want everyone to remember that everyone has their place in this change. It is not only the big international NGOs, it is also the small NGOs that just works for a single cause in a single country. They have their place in the world as well. And we need to partner up with them. So everyone has to reach out for corporate partners. We do it globally, and we are very happy to do that globally. And perhaps that's not the recipe for other NGOs, but there will be partners for them as well to partner up with and make some real change.
Over here.
Thank you very much for your words. It was very encouraging. I'm an optimist myself, so thank you for the energy. I work for a civil society organization, and I'm completely obsessed by Sustainable Development Goal number 4. I think education is so underlying to all the other Sustainable Development Goals. And when I see events like the ones from the last weeks, I feel we've made a lot of progress on access to education, but I feel that the society is driven by some values that are not exactly about tolerance or respect. So what do you think, which kind of education we need to bring to our kids in the world that's around us?
It's a very interesting question, because it's actually true. We have become much better at sending our children to school. But you know what really depresses me is that we can send our children to school, but they might not learn anything. And we have too many examples of children going to school, that I met those children myself, where they've been to school for 4 or 5 years, they still haven't actually learned the most basic skills. That's a problem. And that's a problem where we have to reach teachers, teacher training. We have to change the curriculum in the schools. So I want to be part of creating a learning generation where we don't only send children to school, but where they actually also learn something when they go to school. So this is the next step. We need to have much more funding for the learning generation. And that's why I keep talking about quality education, because that is our education where you actually learn. And I have this belief as well, it might be naive, that when people go to school, when they learn things, when they discuss things, when they discover things, maybe that creates the tolerance that this world will need as well. Because there's no doubt that one of the obstacles that we need to move ahead is tolerance, acceptance of different lifestyle, different religion. And what I started out talking about, the discrimination, that the children are actively discriminated against, basically that is about reaching out and understanding and tolerating other things. And many, many countries within their midst, they have a group of people that are not tolerated. You have the extreme system of the caste system in India, which still does exist. You have systems everywhere that keep one part of the population away from the mainstream. And this is also about tolerance and breaking that discrimination.
Any other question? I have right, before you can think of others, I have a question for you. In terms of, right now, there just seems to be a trend, not just in the United States, but in Europe and also in Asia, of looking inward. Right now, a lot of the questions like, well, we're going to work on some of the issues here domestically here in Hong Kong. So how do you kind of get people to think about in a global, Save the Children is a global organization, but this battle of this inwardness, and it's sometimes, like you said, the intolerance, everybody is afraid. So you're an optimist, some of us are optimists, still trying to be an optimist. How do you, especially young people now can be discouraged. So my question to you is, how do you continue that bridge or that drive to look outward and look in some ways I look at humanities.
Yeah.
And you're a humanitarian organization, we're an educational institution. How do you kind of talk about that?
Well, I think there is compassion, and I think people do want to help, and I meet that everywhere I go. And it's hard to knock the optimism out of me. We went to an amazing gala yesterday that Save the Children was organizing. We had amazing people in the room, all there. I'm sure they could have done a million other things on a lovely Sunday evening with their time, but they chose to be in that room and put their hand up. And together we raised a lot of money last night, money that will go straight to helping birth assistance in mainland China, to help train teachers in mainland China, to help the refugee situation in between Africa and Europe. So we raised money to make a real difference, and that's a great story. And I believe that compassion is there. In Korea, where we have a big Save the Children organization as well, we have 240,000 people signing up for individual giving with quite a substantial giving every year. So there is a willingness to help. And what we have to do is to get into this notion or this thinking that you can make a difference. The worst thing that can come over us is despair, that nothing is possible. And I understand that young people, I have two daughters myself, 17 and 20, I understand that they can despair in this world where they just see one conflict after the other. But Save the Children, part of our mission is actually to say, even in the hardest of times, we want to reach out and make that difference. I was telling you that we were created 100 years ago. Our founder, Eglantine Jebb, she was a woman. It wasn't very easy back then as a woman to speak up and do anything political. She was a woman. She decided that she wanted to help the children that were refugees and were actually starving after the First World War. So this is how our movement started, in a time where everyone was not feeling at peace with each other, where Europe was still in turmoil. She decided to start a movement and giving hope to those children and changing their lives. We did the same after the Second World War, and the reason why I mention that is that it is times when there's most despair, where we feel that nothing can be done, that we should just try to move the lives of some children and bring that thinking to the rest of the world. I believe strongly in that, and I really feel that there's a gathering around that way of thinking. I saw it last night, and I've seen it before. This is why we're here, because we still think there is hope to change.
Thank you. If there's no, okay, there's a question from a gentleman back there.
Hello, my name is Alex. Thank you very much for your speech. I think one of the main questions on all of our lips as a young person is, for you as advice to us, what would be the best way to make a difference, to make a change in the world over the next few years? Because it's easy for someone working in a big national corporation to, get involved with these partnerships, but from our point of view, how would you say is the best way to develop from the bottom?
Thank you so much for that question. And my advice to young people is, I've spoken to loads of young people, and I love it because that is where the hope is, that's where the future is. I really hope that this generation of young people going to university, having that privilege, that they understand their privilege. That they understand that with that privilege comes also responsibility towards your other young people or children that didn't have those opportunities. And I'm hoping that this generation of young people being extremely well educated, much better than we were actually, and some of them being very, very privileged, that they will think that they are not only there for themselves, but they need to give back to the community. And keep reminding themselves that there are young people who are not privileged at all. I feel that is a spirit of many young people, and I hope you will never lose it, that you will keep thinking that with privilege comes a lot of responsibility, politically, economically, but also in your conscience to help other people. So that's my best advice. Don't lose hope that we can create a better future. Sorry if we screwed things up a little bit for your generation. We're sorry about that, but I truly think that you can be part of changing it, and don't lose hope. And then, of course, to the young women, I want to say, keep thinking that you are as good as everyone else, that you can make a difference, and we need women to also take a stand and be part of economic life, political life, to change the way things are.
Okay, 2 questions here.
Hi, this is Sam from GSK. So thank you very much for mentioning the partnership with our company, which is very embedded in the whole company. We are very proud of it. And my question is, for many NGOs, especially those global-sized NGOs, so you need to reach out, so you need people to help you. And at the same time, you need to grow bigger, so their admin costs will be much higher. So in many ways that donors and the people will challenge of the NGOs of how you drive the efficiency of the Save the Children. So my question is, so what did Save the Children do to drive efficiency? And secondly, do you think the corporate partnership could be leveraged on to help you to increase the efficiency, something like that?
Yeah, no, but that's a great question because it's very, very relevant. So thank you for that. There's no doubt that when you become a bigger international NGO like we have become over the years, we've had growth every year for the last many years. We have come together as one organization. You need to look at your efficiency, your cost, and basically whether you are delivering on the ground and whether your impact is the way you want it. And one of my jobs as a relatively new CEO of this movement is to look at that. I want to bring down cost. I want to keep us asking the question, can we be more efficient tomorrow than we are today? This is what I did as Prime Minister as well. I did endless reforms because I really believe that when you're moving and growing, and you want to look at your impact, and you want to look at how you can become more efficient. So that's part of my job description. Can we use our corporate partners to help us with that? Certainly, yes. And we are doing that already, and I'm sure we can get even better at doing that. As I said, we have an amazing corporate partnership with the Boston Consulting Group. What are they helping us with, really? Well, they're helping us with actually going into our processes, helping us to manage. They second their people to us, and we get inspired by that. And I'm actually convinced that every time we have a corporate responsibility, because they tend to ask questions, which is great. Could you do that differently? Could you do that better? We learn from that. And that's what we want. And that's why we are very proud of being open to the world, letting corporates in that can ask these questions. And it's extremely helpful for us. And in a concrete way, we are doing everything we can right now to maximize, to actually streamline our processes. That means procurement processes, warehouses, everything where we are trying to become much more high-performing than we have been recently. And that's also with the help of our partners.
last question, since we are kind of at time.
I'm Kyoko. I'm a former journalist, and I've seen the difference that groups like yours make in war zones and crisis areas. So thank you for what you're doing. Thank you for the hope that you're sharing with us today. You mentioned kind of young people and or some of the questions addressed education. Just this week, a group of children, 12, 13, 14-year-olds, wrote a play and performed in it. It was called First World Problems.
Oh, yeah.
And midway through the play, the title changed to World Problems First. Yeah. And it was, I wish the children could have heard you today, because your message was their message, and it was coming from these young children.
Amazing.
It was so motivating and inspiring, and the kind of the conclusion for the children themselves was, we've got to do something.
I want to see that play.
Yes.
Where is it? Have they showed it here?
It's Hong Kong International School. It just
really
ended, but it was incredible.
Yeah.
But what I wanted to ask you is, given all these challenges that we face today, how do you prioritize? I mean, you have a certain amount of resources. What do you think right now, where we are, is most important to address?
Yeah. Well, first of all, it sounds like an amazing play. I would like to get to know that. And I just love when children express their opinion, when they feel that they have something that the adults should be hearing, and they debate and they have opinions. That's part of our mission as well, to actually treat people like citizens, like people who are entitled to have their opinion. And I do think we need to listen to young people and to children as well. So it sounds like a very exciting thing. What are our priorities? Well, again, you can get quite confused in a world, or where do you start? We have the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, and that's a big, and under them there are a lot of goals as well. So where do you start? Well, Save the Children has made it very simple for ourselves. We have looked at the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, and we have translated that into Save the Children language. What does that mean? Well, in one sentence, I can tell you what it means. It means that we want to be part of creating a world where no child has to die from a preventable cause. Children should survive, they should learn, and they should get access to quality education, and they need to have the right to live a life without violence. They need to be protected. So survive, learn, and be protected. That is our mission. We add to that then, where we say we want to reach the most deprived children. We want to get to the hardest to reach children first. That is our mission. And that is a way for us to keep it simple, because then we know what to do, and we actually know exactly what to do. We know when there is a situation, emergency situation, we know that the schools will have broken down. That's why we invest in schools as quickly as we can. We know that there will be violence against children, because that is where children get snatched, literally, to be sold and to get into a trafficking cycle. And we also know that there will be mothers that are trying to give birth to their children, and that many, many children will die in those situations. So we know exactly what to do, and that's a guideline for our work that actually has proved very efficient for us. Survive, learn, and be protected, and try to reach those children that are most deprived, and try to reach them first. That is our guideline for our work. We're going to finish up here. I want to thank you so much for coming out here today, for your amazing questions, and just want to finish as I've started. I've been in politics for many, many years, and I believe, and I'm now an NGO, and I still believe in change. I still believe that what we have here in front of us of deprivation and poverty can be changed by people working together. There will be setbacks, there will be situations where we think it is hopeless, but I do believe in change, and I believe that starting with children is the right place to start. Because children is something that we know is the future, we know that instinctively, but children and the cause of children is also something that unites us. It unites us. It doesn't matter where you're from, what you believe in, what you've been brought up with. Everyone loves their children, and they love to fight for children. So that is why this course is something that penetrates everything. It's a strong course, and there's definitely no doubt if you work for children, you can actually be part of changing the future. And I hope you will want to be part of just a little bit of that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prime Minister, for that inspirational message. And I know under your leadership, Save the Children will go from success to success. And thank you all for being here. Lunches serve, and this is a small token of our appreciation.
Thank you so much.
Have a
Thank
great
you
trip.
so much. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here at Lunches Serve. And also, I just want to remind you, you have a program, a notice here, a wonderful program that's going to come up on Thursday, November 17th. It's an afternoon program, Future of U.S.-China Relations under the Next U.S. Administration by Doug Paul. Doug Paul is from Carnegie Endowment for International Peace in Washington. So if those of you can join us this Thursday, and there's a lot of great programs coming up, including going up to our CR exhibition at the Chantal Mellor Gallery, a wonderful exhibition, double take, picturing Asia. Really 60 years of wonderful history of Asia through photos by two great photographers. Enjoy lunch, and I look forward to seeing you at future programs. Thank you.